faces beneath white masks. They terrorized blacks. They were the spirits of the Confederate dead returning to strike terror and seek revenge on those who had brought such sorrow and pain on the South. They were the men of a secret white society formed at Pulaski, Tennessee in December 1865. It was the Ku Klux Klan. Its purpose was to oppose the Northern efforts of Reconstruction. Before the Civil War, the South was based on a structure of white supremacy, where whites ran all political and social functions, and blacks were merely property. Now, with the Civil War ended, the nation's 4 million blacks were free. By an act of Congress, they had become, in principle, equal citizens, with all the civil and political rights accorded to the whites. Out of this equality would arise a new social and political order, the Reconstructed South. But when Lincoln was assassinated, this vision of a new South died with him. Instead, the old South political social structure would remold itself in new institutions which reflected the true Southern attitude towards blacks. An attitude of revengeful hate. A white Southerner said,
"Now that you've got them ruined, take the cursed scoundrels out of the country. Damn their black souls. They're the things that cause the best blood of our sons to flow."
On the other hand, Reconstruction allowed Southern whites to return home, regain their property, and for all but the most radical Confederates, receive amnesty and run for political office. The greatest fear for Southern whites was that somehow their former slaves would gain political control over them. Elizabeth Merriweather, wife of KKK founder Minor Merriweather, wrote of Congress's Reconstruction Act of 1867.
It disenfranchised all white men who had not actively sided with the North, and enfranchised all black men. The white men of the South, men of brains and property, the men with a long line of cultured, civilized ancestry, were forbidden either to vote or hold public office.
However, secret societies like the Ku Klux Klan prevented the blacks from actually voting and gaining real political power. Though eventually driven underground in 1870 by the Force Acts, the KKK outlasted Reconstruction. By 1877, Reconstruction had ended. The institutions protected by the Northern military presence were slowly dismantled over the next 25 years, and the South settled into a pattern of white supremacy and segregation of blacks. After the Civil War, the U.S. would no longer primarily be made up of British and African American people. New waves of ethnic immigrant groups flowed into the country: Irish, Scandinavians, Southern and Eastern Europeans, Jews and Chinese. Around these groups would emerge new hate societies in the mold of the KKK to hold down the political power of these ethnicities.